Hey, it's Bruce with WeedersDigest.com. And before you watch this video, I'm going to make the assumption that you've already seen the features and function
Hey,
of the Eco
I'll
Harvester.
start off by doing
And
the
this
intro.
is a chance to
Okay, you
learn
do the
more
intro.
about
Okay.
the history behind it.
Hey, it's Bruce with WeedersDigest.com, and I'm once again doing a quick little interview on the shoreline here, and I'm here with Dennis, who is the designer, builder, manufacturer of this machine that I've been telling you about. And not only has it been quite exciting for us to begin to represent, but it's also been exciting to have a lot of great responses from some recent demos we've been doing on my own shoreline here. And so Dennis, I just want to jump right in, and I think we could probably go on and on about all the great benefits of it and how you came up with it all, but why don't you kind of give a quick, not a walk around, but kind of a quick demonstration or a discussion about how you came up with this and kind of what your goal concept was and ultimately how you've achieved it.
All right. A little bit of background about myself. I have a garden center and a landscape company and a construction business. And in my course of landscaping, we do a lot of high-end home work, and we do a lot of shoreline cleanup. And I realized how labor-intensive this area was. This area from where open water is to where the shoreline is. You know, that area is just not an area where there's equipment that has been designed to cover that area, and that's where I really felt the need was. We were in the water with shovels and rakes and pitchforks and trying to slop this stuff up on shore. My crew hates me every time I make them get in the water, and I realized that there's got to be a better way. So I went online and I searched to buy a machine that could do this for me. And when I couldn't find it, I said, I'm a mechanical engineer. I can come up with this. I can create a machine that can do just what I'm looking for it to do.
Kind of for your own benefit, with the hopes of maybe really coming up with possibly a silver bullet that we can share with others.
Yeah. I've always been a designer, entrepreneur. My lifelong dream is to be an inventor. And you know, the mother of all invention is necessity, and that's where it came from. I designed a machine to actually be productive, not just bells and whistles to sell a product, but I built a machine that can accomplish what it was set out to do. Some of the design criteria that I created when I wanted to design this machine was it has to be transportable. I wanted a machine where I could drop in that machine into the lake in the morning. I could work on, a dozen shoreline, 20 shorelines, depending on how bad the weed problem was during the course of that day. At the end of the day, that machine leaves with my crew. Design limitations on that criteria are it can't be more than 8 feet wide. My guys have to be able to haul it down the road legally, without any sap. That was design criteria number one. Design criteria number two is it has to operate in these shallow water conditions.
Absolutely.
It has to be able to work in an environment where if it bumps the bottom, it's not wrecking the machine. And that's when I pretty much eliminated the cutter intake system that usually you see on lake weed harvesters. They have a reciprocating sickle bar cutter, and that kind of cutter, if you bump it into the bottom, it damages that cutter. And I recognize that, as soon as you start working in the water, you stir up sediments, you rough up the weeds, and it creates sediment in the water, and you can't see where the bottom is.
Right.
So there's no way of determining exactly, the right depth you need to be at. So I knew I needed to design a machine that would be able to tolerate bumping the bottom. We're not looking to dredge the bottom. That's not what this machine was designed to do. But if it bumps the bottom, it's going to be okay. It can handle bumping rocks and stumps and whatever else might be in the bottom, and live to tell the tale. And that's what we accomplish with this roller intake system.
I'm going to interrupt just for a quick second on that, because hopefully you've had a chance to watch some of the other videos where it actually shows the concept that it does have the ability to not only traditionally type of a cut, but also to be able to pull the weeds as well as to be able to skim the surface weeds or algae off the surface. And like I say, to take a walk around and to see it in action, we've got several other videos that'll show that. So going back to your point on that, I mean, you really came up with, here's the criteria. As you said, it's different, and that's what you'll have to watch the other videos for. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, along with that, I recognize that there is some negative stigmatism with weed harvesters out there relating to weed fragments.
Yeah.
And it's true. A typical weed harvester has cutter bars that go up the sides and across the bottom. When you go through a patch of weeds with all these cutters going, you chop up all kinds of little pieces, and those pieces aren't all captured by the weed harvester.
Right.
And then that creates a floating debris that goes off to another part of the lake and can drop to the bottom and create a new nuisance problem elsewhere. And I recognize that it's not an environmentally sound practice, and it's not a thorough job.
Right.
You know, you're not cleaning every weed if you leave a bunch float away.
Right. And, you know, I might have said this in another video along the way, and I shared this with you, Dennis, is that on the lake that I live on here, our city actually literally gave us money and said you must use it for harvesting. This is about probably 4 years ago, and we voted it almost unanimously to turn the money down because we had such poor results of so much debris and fragments floating. So I agree. I mean, that's a huge. There's some negatives to harvesting that you've overcome. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. As we worked yesterday a little bit doing some demos, the floating fragments I see around the lake today are not from what we did. They're from the water skiing activities. So
Yeah. The machine needed to be easy to operate. You know, I wanted to be able to put, my crew on the machine and have them take off with it and accomplish the job without, years of training.
Right, right.
And it's extremely operator friendly. You can put somebody on this machine within a couple of hours. They're pretty
I can attest to
proficient.
that. I can attest to that. I did it last night. So.
Yeah, and the ability for the machine to offload was another important thing. I'm trying to, with this whole concept, I'm trying to reduce the amount of labor going into this. Not capture mass amounts of material that ultimately have to be manually handled. The machine completely self-loads, self-onloads. I've tried to eliminate all manual labor involved in the weed harvesting activities here.
On that note, I think it's that's you thinking as a owner-operator with a service business in mind. I mean, you built it for your own application, so you know that reducing that labor is important. And I can't speak for other manufacturers of harvesters, but they're manufacturers of harvesters. They may not be thinking of everything you would be thinking about. How many guys do I have to have on the boat, in the water, at the shore, in the truck, on the trailer? But you are. So I think that was one of the things that we saw yesterday, where we did some demos and had some people in here that were really impressed by that, as I was. So.
Yeah, man hours are expensive. You can't have too many man hours tied up into an operation before it just becomes cost prohibitive. We're trying to accomplish a goal here. We're removing this problem area close to shoreline of weeds, and it can't be so expensive that the homeowners can't afford it.
Right.
It's too
Right.
cost prohibitive for them.
Right.
So it had to be an efficient operation. Another facet of design criteria is it needed to be easily maintained. I put a Honda engine on here. Most people are familiar with the Honda engine. It's in a lot of lawnmowers, garden tractors, powers a lot of their equipment. So it's really user-friendly. There isn't a lot of maintenance that goes along with this machine. We have some bearings that need to be greased, and a Honda engine that needs an oil change, runs on gasoline right from the ordinary pump. So there's nothing that is so out of the realm of what people might be used to with this machine. It makes the operation really simple.
And that's one of the things with Weeder's Digest. I mean, we deal with people all around the world, and so when we've had a few occasions to deal with people or products that are very labor intensive, and that we would have to be the ones, or you would have to be the ones to service it, it's not feasible for the the broad reach that our market is. That was one of the things that really was comforting for me, to know that I could represent a product that could be all the way across the country, but parts could be available not strictly through you, but many of them, if there was ever any kind of a mechanical issue, could be serviced and handled to get, because time is money, and if you can't operate and you have to wait for you to fly in, anyway, this has been taken care of. So
the components that are used, the core components, the hydraulic system components, the engine components, are all readily available, off-the-shelf type of products that are within reach for anybody in any area of the country.
Right.
It's really standard stuff. I wanted to make it easy to maintain, so that this can go out to any part of the country and not have a big need to have mechanics close by that are specially trained in repairing this piece of equipment. It's simple enough that any equipment repair mechanic could handle this, and a lot of the parts are right there readily available to them. So anytime that they would have any kind of breakdown, which by the way isn't very likely, because I really believe in building things solid. I can't stand breakdowns when I'm out in the field. I hate that.
It costs you money.
It does.
And guys sitting around. So.
Downtime is terrible. I want things to last. Some of the things that I've done to make sure that this machine operates smoothly for a very long time is I built it solid. There is not a weak component on this machine. It is solid as a rock. The components that I've used in the hydraulic system, they are rated for 3,000 psi operating pressures on that hydraulic system. We only operate at 1,200 psi. So we are far below the normal operating pressure for these components. What does that mean? That means that those components are going to last a long time.
They're not being overworked or overstressed.
That's right. That's right. These components are going to be huge lifetime components. The Honda engine is a notably reliable engine. I don't expect to have any problems with the Honda engine. All of the specialty components have been fabricated above and beyond their function for stress and capabilities that are what they're doing. So we've really designed a machine that's going to last a very long time. Maintenance is simple. Oil changes and grease those bearings on an annual basis. Touch up any nicks that get in the paint to control any rust that might happen long term, and this will be a lifelong machine. That's it.
We've known each other for some years, and so this is a new relationship. It's a new, but over time, I guess what I'm trying to say is that over time I've seen a number of changes that you've made to the point where now we both feel like we're ready to make sure that customers are fully satisfied with that. But I guess the point that I was going to try to get to was that over the last days I've had a number of different people that I highly respect from a mechanical and a functionality standpoint stop by and spend some time down here on the dock, and I think almost everybody used the word genius in reference to some of the components that are on here. And these aren't just people that are looking at it from strictly mechanical. They're looking at understanding of what the functionality is of what it needs to do in the water. So I'd encourage you to watch the rest of the videos, give us a call, try to find if we can arrange a demo for you in your location, or if you can come to our location. But ultimately, the response that we've received, even from neighbors that we've done some demos for, has really been positive. And I don't think it's any surprise to you. I think that this has been a dream that went to paper, that went to prototype. I mean, you've gone through the steps. So as you're getting this feedback from some of my cohorts, I'm sure it's probably not that much of a surprise to you.
No, I knew that this was a solid machine. I've been working on it for years. This is not something that I just pulled out of the box and are introducing. I've had this perfected, and I've got a design that really works here. in my design process, I didn't go out and look at all the other harvesters out there and then copy what they've done. I designed a machine first.
Right.
Used all my own ideas, created my own machine, and then I compared it to what else was out there. And I was really kind of surprised. I thought I'd done a pretty good job of not being influenced by what other harvester manufacturers have done, creating a unique piece of equipment that solves the problems of that shoreline area, you know, can handle those small lakes and can handle those big waters that just need the shoreline cleanup. I've really kind of brought together a package that is going to do a good job for the customer, whether that is a lake association, whether that is a service provider, whether that is just an individual who wants to clean up their private pond. It really is a universal piece of equipment.
Yeah, and you know, we kind of proved and you know, did some myth busting yesterday. People talk about how, well, the harvester can't get close to the dock, and I keep referencing these other videos, but you know, I think you were showing off yesterday, but I was standing there with the camera and I said, don't touch the lily pad, don't touch the dock, and I think we had about 5 feet between the lily pads and the dock, and I got it on video. You just literally came right in there, you know, and with precision landing, got in there, pulled it out, and I don't know that I could do that on the first time. I'm sure that takes a little bit of skill, but I can tell you that the other functions I did do, it was quite amazing. So I think there's a lot of things that we busted some myths on how long it takes to learn how to operate and become functional and productive and profitable, as well as, you know, just being able to do a good job near docks without doing a lot of bottom disturbance. So you know, I had some things that had to be proven out to me as well, and I'm pretty thrilled about it. So
yeah, in order to conquer this area close to shoreline, it had to be maneuverable. It has to get around those piers and rafts and docks and boat lifts and everything else that might be an obstacle in the water. So it has to be able to maneuver those tight spaces, turn on a dime. We use paddle wheel construction because not only does it not tangle up with weeds, but also it has minimal ground bottom disturbance activity. You're really only touching the surface water that 12 inches deep, and there really isn't much disturbance below that. So you're not damaging the environment beyond just removing those weeds that are a problem. And in situations where there's invasive species and weeds that are valuable to the ecosystem, you can target exactly where those weeds are. You can leave the specific weeds that you want to remain in the environment, and it makes it a really precise machine for making environmental sense.
right. You know, kind of in wrapping up, I think again, to find a piece of equipment I'll say it from the Weeder's Digest standpoint, to find a piece of equipment that is unique to the point that you won't find anything like it anywhere, that it can has a pulling function, a skimming function, a cutting function, the fact that it can be operated in a productive mode, efficient mode, profitable mode as a contractor, or as a group of homeowners, or an association, in kind of any environment, has really been something that we've been really excited about. And so I'm glad that we've got this relationship, and with Dennis helping us out here, we'll get your questions answered. I'd like to encourage you to give us a call at the Weeder's Digest. We'll walk you through the details as best we can, and look forward to potentially getting you a demo, answering questions for your group of people that are involved in, because we know a lot of these decisions are made by committee. And so again, I think the next best thing to being there is to watch the different videos. And Dennis, I just appreciate your ingenuity to come up with this, and something that we can offer to you know, not only to my own lake association, and but also to our valued customers.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to show you this out on your lake.
All right, thanks, Dennis.